Hey, let's do this. Welcome to the first episode of When It Rains, It Pours, the podcast. This is basically going to be like a diary style podcast. I don't like the phrase yapper. I don't know, it kind of cringes me out, but I don't shut the fuck up, is the way I want to say it. And I just have lots of things that I want to talk about. And I live by myself, so there's no one to come home to and just say every thought that's in my brain. I'm going to pick a topic each week. If you listen to Emma Chamberlain's podcast, she just kind of picks something and she goes, and that's what this is going to be. For those of you who don't know and you're just finding this, from social or anything, my name's Rain. I'm 22 years old. I live in San Diego, and I graduated in May. So I haven't been out of college for a full year, and I'm kind of just figuring things out as I go. I started my own business 1 month out of college, and I paid my taxes this morning. I'm definitely figuring things out as I go, and I kind of want to share that experience, but also just the life of, a young 20-something in San Diego, figuring out her business, friendships, relationships, and just kind of talking about all of it. And for the first episode, I figured I should pick some kind of topic, and I have the travel bug. I feel like there's a stigma online of someone that studies abroad and they never shut up about it. They went to Florence or Spain and when I was in España, and they just never shut up about it. I didn't study abroad, but I'm basically that. And I'm kind of almost pick me in the sense because I went to really niche, less traveled places. I also did the Florence, Italy and all of that. But I went to China and Thailand and Japan and had to get a work visa to work in social media in China. And so it's kind of all I can talk about. So I want to talk about that, and the context of how I got to travel is pretty unique, pretty random. So I'm kind of just going to start at the beginning and work my way up. I went to 8 countries in 2024, and I got a tattoo for all of them. If you're watching the online version, I'll kind of point to them and talk about them. But I'm a big manifester, and on my 2024 vision board, I put a passport. I had never been anywhere outside the country except a Disney cruise to the Bahamas when I was 5, and this was the year I wanted to travel, and I hit it full force. I manifested the hell out of it, and I got to go a bunch of places. Starting out in December of 2023 into January of 2024, I got to go to Thailand. So I graduated from SDSU, San Diego State, and while I was there, I was a social media intern. So I basically made TikToks all day, and I did other content and helped plan events and stuff like that. And there was a program at SDSU that was basically a study abroad, but for winter break. So you went for 2 to 3 weeks, you got to go somewhere, and you studied something. So what it was street food, street vendors, night markets, through the lens of your discipline. So the journalism program, there was journalism, public relations, social media. I majored in PR, but I got invited to go and teach the students that were doing digital marketing, social media, basically how I do what I do. So how I would capture what we were doing in Thailand and how I would make it into content. And while we were there, I also got to speak at a university in Bangkok to students that were doing similar to what JMS did, but in Thailand. So that was really, really cool. I got to go. They paid for my flight, which was crazy, and I got to go to Thailand. I became really good friends with some people there, and it was just an amazing experience. Every itinerary was planned, so it was you wake up at 8 and then you're going all day, you're on your feet. I was getting 20,000 steps. We were going to temples and doing a bunch of different stuff, and it was a great way to kick off travel. There were people on the trip that were, oh, our feet are tired, we don't want to do this, we don't want to see another temple. It was also really hot. It was the coldest time of the year in Thailand, and it was 90 degrees, 100% humidity. It was terrible in that sense, but it was amazing. And yeah, I got to travel. We went to an elephant sanctuary. And so from that moment, I was there for 12 days, and I got the craziest travel bug. So fast forward to May, I graduated college. I was one of the people who graduated high school in 2020. So I didn't get a prom, I didn't get a high school graduation, I didn't get to do a post-grad trip. I was supposed to go to Greece with my grandma. I never got to use my passport, COVID, everything shut down. So when I graduated college, I really wanted to go somewhere. So I decided to go over to Europe, like most people do when they graduate. I started in Italy, did Florence, Rome, Milan, Venice, went over to the Netherlands. I have some family there, and then Paris, and then over to the UK. And that was amazing. I wasn't very excited to go to the UK in the sense that it's really similar to the US in that sense. I loved Thailand because it was so, so different. Like, we were traveling in tuk-tuks and English wasn't the first language, and it was super different than what I'm used to. The UK is very similar to what I was used to. It kind of felt like New York City in a sense, and I've been there live, family there. But Paris was absolutely my favorite. I know there's a stigma that Parisians are really mean, and I went a couple weeks before the Olympics. So the city was super clean and everyone was really nice. I just had to be like, parlez-vous anglais? And it was basically like, do you speak English? They would say yes, and then they would speak in English. And I think, one, they had cleaned up the city, and I have a theory that they told everyone that they need to be nice to tourists and Americans. So that way, you know, they had a good reputation hosting the Olympics. The city was so beautiful, and we got to go to Disneyland Paris, which was really cool. And I want to collect all of those. I'm not a Disney adult, but I would like to see all of them. Then fast forward, I ended up going to Shanghai and Tokyo. Didn't get to go to the Disneylands there, but I'll go back. It'll be fine. And then the Netherlands was great. We went to Amsterdam for a couple hours, and Italy was amazing. We ventured through everywhere. Rome was super cool. We took bird scooters, and all of a sudden you're like going through the city, and then boom, the Colosseum was right there, which I think is so cool also because the US is such a new country in the sense that, you know, we were 1776. Europe and all these other countries have been around for tens of thousands of years, and so seeing all of that old architecture and learning about it was so fascinating and so beautiful. I also love Italian food, and TMI, I'm lactose intolerant, and dairy makes me blow up like a balloon and shit my brains out. And in Europe, the food and the ingredients there are so different that you can eat dairy and gluten and all of those things, and your body is usually able to digest it. So I took that full force. I was like, I'm walking a couple steps a day. Like, it's fine. I'm going to get gelato. I'm going to get 2 plates of pasta, and fully did, you know, the big bag. I big bagged my way through Europe, but it was definitely worth it. And so I came back, and that was in the summer. We went in June. And then in July, I got the opportunity to go on another paid trip. During college, I was a nanny for a year. I started watching this baby when she was about 4-6 weeks old. I'm still super close with her family and her, and it was such a beautiful and like rewarding experience. I kind of talked about manifestation earlier, and I really think like the universe brought me that family and her for a lot of different purposes, and maybe I'll touch on that in an episode in the future. But the family was like, hey, you know, we have a concept for a grad gift for you. They took me out to a really nice dinner, and they said, you know, you can say no, but every couple years they go to Tulum. That's where they went for their honeymoon. They stay at this resort. I believe the mom went for her 30th birthday, something like that. And they're like, we're going again. We're going for 10 days. We don't want to be away from our daughter for that long. We haven't been away from her for that long. We will fly you out and we'll pay, you know, for your room and your food and everything, kind of as like a grad gift and a thank you. The only caveat is because the daughter was under 2, you need to fly her to Mexico as a lap infant. So she needs to be on your lap. And one, I had never been to Mexico. It sounded amazing. I've heard Tulum is beautiful. And like I said, I love that baby. She's a toddler now. But that was fine by me. So I stayed the night at their house. She's also really, really smart. I won't touch on her a bunch because people don't care about other people's kids. But, you know, the night before I was like, okay, you know, we're going to wake up really early. We're going to go on this trip. This whole thing, we went. She was amazing. She didn't like her headphones. And so I put movies on my iPad with no sound. She just watched it. I put the subtitles on for me, but it looked like she was reading the subtitles, so that was very funny. And I got to go for a couple days. It was raining one of the days, so that wasn't ideal, but it was a lot of like ice baths and sauna experiences. It was very like wellnessy, so it wasn't like the party aspect of Tulum, and I really liked that. It was great. The beaches were beautiful. There was a bunch of plunge pools. And it was just a really like nice relaxing experience. I was only there for a couple days. Speaking of Mexico, I found out a couple days ago. I kind of talked about what I do for work. I started a business. I do social media management, and I've gotten to go a couple places with this client, and I'll talk about it in a second. But I found out a couple days ago I get to go to Mexico next month with Patron. So it's a very bad day to be a tequila shot as far as I'm concerned. But I get to go to their hacienda and see like where they make their tequila, and I'm really, really excited about that. And so I get to go to Mexico again. So boom, another trip in the books for 2025. I do want to go places I haven't been, and it's a part of Mexico I haven't been, but I want to collect all the countries. I want to go to all the continents by the time I'm 25, minus Antarctica. I get really, really motion sick, and you have to take a boat, and I think it's the Drake's Passage. A YouTuber I really like went to Antarctica, and I followed his journey, and he was throwing up for days on the boat, and I think I can wait a little bit longer before I do that. But I'm really looking forward to going to Mexico again. And then, so that was in July. And then in September, it was really short notice. One of my clients, he does podcasting and influencing like in the liquor and spirits and alcohol space and hospitality. There's this thing called World Class, and it's basically the bartending Olympics. So a lot of different countries, there was over 50. They do a competition internally where, you compete to be the best bartender. So the US best bartender, blah, 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 blah. And then they all go somewhere and they compete bracket style like the Olympics to be world class, the best bartender in the world. And this year, the finals was in Shanghai, China. And my client got, flown out and paid for by Diageo. And that's basically, for people who don't know, they own like a huge portfolio. So they Don Julio, Bailey's, Kettle One vodka, Johnny Walker whiskey, and they have a huge portfolio. And they flew him out, and they ended up being able to fly me out too, because he was there to do and like make content, and I edit all of his content, I help film it, and so I got to go. And it was super last minute. I had to go somewhere kind of sketchy, back alley vibes, drop off my passport, which felt really, really wrong, and leave my passport there. In a couple days, I got to come back. I paid a certain amount of money, and I got a visa. And I'm hoping this is okay to share. But I got a visa, which meant like I was able to go and work in a foreign country. And I'm not going to say a lot, but I was going to China. Use the context of what you know about China to work in social media. And so if you can put two and two together, that's great. That's all I'm going to say about that. But that was also amazing. It was so beautiful. We didn't really leave the hotel much. We got to explore a couple gardens and things that were nearby, but it was gorgeous. We were right across from a TV tower. The hotel was great, and I feel like I got to see a great amount of that city. We were in Shanghai. It was super clean, and it wasn't what I was expecting, but in like a really good way. Ignorantly, I was expecting more people to speak English. I hadn't realized that Mandarin is the number one language spoken in the world, so I was kind of caught off guard. I was expecting more English. When I was in Thailand, a lot of people at least knew a little English, but that's because tourism is like their main export. But China was a little different in that sense, but I was a tourist, I was a guest, like I learned to accommodate, while I was there. But that was something really interesting to note. And then when we were done, we got to go to Tokyo. My client was doing like a takeover at a bar there, and he was doing some stuff, and he presented the opportunity for me to go. And I was thrilled. Japan was like the number one place I had wanted to go. And Tokyo was amazing. We were there for 5 days. Really randomly, someone that I know from school, he's a videographer, he's amazing. He was in Tokyo as well. So he's traveling, doing videography for a DJ. And he happened to be there. We met up, and then he said, hey, tomorrow we're going to Kyoto on the bullet train. Do you want to come? I ended up getting a ticket, and I went with them. We got to see Kyoto. We went to a couple temples, and this I think was the most surreal experience of the trip. We like climb up to the top of a temple, we're looking around, and you can see just like a giant Buddha, and you can kind of see it over the trees, and it's huge, and it's looking over at you. You weren't allowed to take photos in that temple. We ended up going to where the Buddha was at, and we could see it up close, but it was like a really out-of-body experience, seeing that and kind of just having it watch over, and it just put a lot of things into perspective. And I was really grateful for all these opportunities to be able to go to these places, and that just kind of solidified, and I had like a very spiritual experience seeing that. The fact that I had these opportunities to go to a few of them for free or even make money while I was there is so crazy. And to be 22, not even a year out of college, and having these experiences is so surreal and mind-blowing, and something I'm so grateful for. And I'm always open to talking about it. I got the travel bug, like I said, and I can't shut up about it. And I love being like, oh, when I was in China, and then I'll throw in the Donald Trump, like China, the whole thing. But it was so amazing, and I can't shut up about it. And I'm really excited to go some more places in 2025. Mexico again, and hopefully some more places that are in the works, or even just places I'm gonna spend my own money on going, because you're only young once. I've never heard people say that they regret not traveling when they were young. I hear the opposite, so I might as well. And the last thing I kind of want to do is I just want to talk about my little tattoos. The artist that I got them from in San Diego, she was amazing. She was like a friend of a friend. I got a little elephant to represent Thailand. We went to an elephant rehabilitation sanctuary, and it was like elephants that were used in the circus and that sort of stuff. I got a tulip for the Netherlands. I got this TV tower for Shanghai. It was the building that was across from our hotel, and it would light up at night, and it was so cool, and the architecture style of it was so amazing. I just got the outline of Italy for Italy. I got a Torii Gate for Japan, and then I got the Eiffel Tower for France. I still need to get one for the UK and one for Mexico. I think I've made my decision. I wasn't sure what I wanted to get for them, so I wanted to take more time. The woman who does my hair said I should do a little teacup with like a little tea bag. So I'm going to do that. I don't know where I want to put it yet. And then for Mexico, I'm going to do an agave plant. I don't know where I'm going to put them yet. And then I also have a rain cloud. It's not representative of a country, but I got it in Rome at a speakeasy. It healed terribly. You're not supposed to drink and get tattoos. So that's interesting that that exists as a premise for a business. But it was a speakeasy. You could buy, cocktails and then get little tattoos. So I got that, and I'm excited to get more. My grandmother hates them. I love her more than anything, but she would like me to be done, and she wants me to travel, so she kind of has to pick one or the other. I'm really excited for, like I said, more traveling, and I'm just really excited for where I'm going to take this podcast. I work for myself. I don't really care about my digital footprint. I have some pretty funny stories, some pretty interesting experiences, and I want to talk about them. I want to share them. I don't want people to feel alone. I want them to laugh at the things I've been through, laugh with me, and just kind of talk about stuff. So I'm really looking forward to this. I'm going to try to post every week. It might be bi-weekly. Who knows? We're going to find out. But stay tuned, follow, subscribe, listen wherever you get podcasts, and when it rains, it pours.